Welcome everyone to the Shark Cryptid Iceberg Part 2. Today we'll be going through more bizarre sightings, theories, and unexplained encounters. Since the first part did so well, I thought might as well do another. So before we begin, consider dropping a like, comment, and subscribe as it really helps out the channel. Tier 1. Cyclops Shark. In 2011, a fisherman named Enrique Lucero Leon came across an unusual discovery while fishing near Cerralvo Island in the Gulf of California. Upon cutting open a pregnant, dusky shark, he found an embryo that looked pretty different from its 9 normal siblings. Unlike a typical shark, this particular fetus had only one eye, which was located at the center of its head. This immediately led to some speculation, with some considering it to be a cryptid or just a fabricated hoax. However, after Leon turned over the specimen to researchers, scientists from National Geographic and other marine institutions determined that the shark was not an undiscovered species, but instead an individual affected by a rare congenital disorder known as cyclopia. Cyclopia is a development condition that affects multiple species, including humans. It results in the failure of the brain to properly divide into 2 hemispheres, leading to the formation of a single central eye. Most organisms with the disorder fail to survive birth usually. Those that do survive are typically stillborn or die shortly after due to severe complications associated with the condition, particularly being underdeveloped respiratory and neurological systems. The dusky shark embryo was measured around 22 inches long and displayed all the traits that are associated with this condition. It was examined by marine biologists Felipe Galvan Magana and Marcela Bajarno Olivares, who became involved after learning about the find through Facebook. With Leon's permission, they conducted further studies on the specimen, including X-ray imaging and comparisons with previous cases of cyclopia in other species. Their findings confirmed that the shark's abnormality was consistent with the congenital defect. Cyclopia has been observed in a variety of animals, but documented cases in sharks are pretty rare. According to shark biologist Jim Galshetter from the University of North Florida, previous instances of cyclopic sharks have only been recorded at the embryonic stage. There have been no confirmed reports of any living cyclopic sharks being caught outside of the womb, adds to the likelihood that they either failed to develop fully or do not survive in the wild. Canadian and Cuban albino shark. The waters off Australia are commonly recognized as a major habitat for great white sharks, which is followed closely by locations such as the coastal region near Dyer Island in South Africa and the northern stretches of the Pacific along California's coast. Other regions, including the northeastern seaboard of the United States, the waters near Japan, New Zealand, and Chile are also known to host great white sharks. However, one region that is barely associated with this species is the Gulf of Mexico. Despite this, there is evidence that great whites are present in the Gulf even in areas as far south as Corpus Christi and Padre Island off the Texas coast. Their presence has been noted frequently enough for the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department to acknowledge their occurrence in the region. While it may seem unexpected that great whites traverse these warmer waters, an even more strange fact is that one of the largest great white sharks ever reported was caught in the Gulf of Mexico. In July of 1945, 6 Cuban fishermen departed from the coastal town of Cozumel, which later became famous as the settling for Ernest Hemingway's novel The Old Man and the Sea. Their boat was a small wooden skiff, only about 14 feet in length, and their usual targets were tuna, dorado, marlin, and sometimes sharks. On this morning, they sailed 3 miles offshore and dropped their baited lines, expecting to reel in a large marlin. They waited for a few hours with no success, noting that other fishing boats in the area were also struggling. While slow fishing days were not unusual, the complete absence of activity suggested that something was keeping smaller fish away. Their suspicion was confirmed when, around 9 a.m., a massive dorsal fin emerged from the surface near their boat. As professional fishermen who had spent years on the water, they were well acquainted with sharks, but none had encountered anything of this magnitude before. Recognizing the potential value of such a massive specimen, they quickly devised a strategy to catch it. Lacking the proper fishing gear to handle such a large animal, they braided several fishing lines together and attached the makeshift cord to a wire leader and shark hook. The bait used was half a tuna, a remnant from a catch that previous day that had been bitten in half by a smaller shark. The fishermen cast their improvised rig into the water and braced themselves as the great white shark closed in. Once the shark took the bait, it began to pull away with immense force. No human strength alone could have reeled in a creature of this size. Anticipating this challenge, the fishermen had tethered their fishing line to multiple palangrays, which are wooden flotation devices designed to create drag and eventually exhaust a large fish. This method was similar to the technique depicted in the film Jaws, where barrels were used to slow down and wear out a great white shark. The struggle lasted for more than an hour, with the fishermen gradually gaining control over the shark. Just as they prepared to strike with a harpoon, the shark suddenly charged at their skiff, ramming into it with such a force that the impact sent splinters flying towards them. It then bit down on the boat's keel, shaking the wooden structure violently before retreating. The fishermen barely had time to recover before the shark circled back, preparing to attack again. This time, they saw their opportunity and successfully landed the harpoon. Even after being struck, the shark continued to fight, thrashing in the water and then biting into the boat's rudder. After a long battle, the great white finally succumbed and the fishermen brought it back to shore. This shark was later named El Monstro de Cozumel and was reported to measure over 21 feet in length and weigh approximately 7,100 pounds. However, its size is debatable. Some analysts who have studied photographs from the time argue that the shark may have been closer to 16 feet and question whether its weight was officially recorded. Regardless of these discrepancies, the shark is still recognized as one of the largest great white sharks ever reported. The Cozumel shark is one of several instances where extraordinarily large great white sharks have been documented. Another example comes from the 1870s, when a shark measuring 36 feet long was reported caught near Port Fairy, Australia. In the 1930s, a great white allegedly reaching 37.6 feet in length was also captured off New Brunswick, Canada. The most extreme case was reported off the Azores, where a Portuguese trawler was said to have caught a great white measuring 41.2 feet in length. While these measurements are often debated because of lack of verifiable records, they lead to discussions about the true maximum size of the species. The widely accepted maximum length for great whites is usually 20 feet, but sightings of significantly larger individuals still persist. There's a well-documented case from 2009 which involved an 11-foot great white that was nearly bitten in half off Stradbroke Island, Australia, suggesting the presence of an even larger predator in the area. In another incident from January 2010, a massive great white was reportedly observed attacking and consuming a human off a South African beach. These reports are pretty difficult to verify, but they suggest that enormous great whites still roam the oceans. Submarine shark. During the 1980s, reports began to circulate about an enormous great white shark that was said to inhabit the waters of False Bay, South Africa. This shark, which came to be known as the submarine, was believed to measure approximately 7 meters in length, which makes it one of the largest great white sharks ever reported. 7 meters also translates to 23 feet. Because the shark was never captured or weighed, the accuracy of these size estimates remain uncertain. One particular claim suggested that the story had been fabricated as part of a journalist's prank, leading many to question whether the shark had ever existed at all. Despite these doubts, multiple eyewitness accounts supported the notion that an unusually large great white had indeed been seen in the area. The shark was also sometimes referred to as spotty because of 3 distinctive white markings that were located in front of its dorsal fin. Little is known about the history of the submarine other than that the sightings of the massive shark were documented in False Bay throughout the 1980s. The shark was frequently targeted by fishermen who were drawn to its remarkable size. Among those who attempted to catch the shark were shark expert Craig Anthony Ferreira and his father. Their first encounter with the animal occurred when Ferreira's father successfully hooked it using a redfish as bait. However, the shark ultimately escaped after a prolonged struggle, during which it exerted enough force to straighten the hook, rendering it useless. A second encounter between the submarine and the Ferreiras played out in a similar manner, though this time the situation became even more dangerous. The shark, which was hooked, became entangled in the fishing line which was attached to their boat. As it attempted to free itself, the thrashing shark caused significant damage to the vessel's hull. Another fishing boat arrived in an attempt to assist, but even with additional support, the men were unable to control the situation. With the risk of their boat being destroyed and the real possibility of being killed by the struggling animal, Ferreira's father made the decision to cut the line. After this encounter, no further attempts were made to hook the submarine. Despite these failed efforts to capture the shark, Craig Ferreira and his father continued to observe it on 2 additional occasions. One of the most notable sightings involved the shark breaching multiple times in quick succession, which is an impressive and unusual display of power for a shark of such massive size. After this final recording, the submarine disappeared from the waters of False Bay and was never really seen again. Moreover, its fate is basically unknown. While great white sharks are believed to have lifespans extending beyond 70 years, it's also uncertain whether this particular shark survived long after its last sighting. Craig Ferreira last documented his encounters with the submarine in his book Great White Sharks on Their Best Behavior. The story of the submarine has since been adapted into various forms of media in the realm of television. The shark was prominently featured in multiple Shark Week specials. However, it was the program Shark of Darkness, Wrath of the Submarine that took the story to a more fictionalized level. Presented as a docu-fiction drama, this production exaggerated many aspects of the submarine and made it look significantly larger than any verified great white. In this adaptation, the submarine was depicted as measuring between 35 and 38 feet length, which is much larger than it actually was documented to be. Also, several biological inaccuracies were introduced in these dramatized versions of the story. The shark was falsely depicted as a male, despite reports consistently identifying the submarine as a female. Another exaggerated trait included the claim that the shark possessed the ability to remain motionless while breathing through a process known as buccal pumping, something that great white sharks are not physiologically capable of, as they require constant movement to pass over their gills. The fictionalized version of the submarine was also portrayed as actively hunting humans, exhibiting levels of intelligence and predatory behavior far beyond what is natural for these species. In reality, the submarine was neither as large or extraordinary as these docufiction narratives suggest it was, and much of what was presented in these programs didn't align with known great white shark behavior. Green shark. A strange report of an unusual shark came from Northumberland, England, in the mid-18th century. On September 16, 1757, a large fish described as a green shark was captured in the river Tweed near Berwick Bridge. It measured approximately 6 feet in length, and the shark was ensnared in a fishing net, leading to some attention because of its unexpected presence in the river. At the time, sharks were not commonly associated with freshwater or estuarine environments in this region, making the sighting and capture of such a specimen pretty notable. An individual named John Sykes documented the event in detail, providing an account of the shark's behavior as it was brought closer to the shore. According to his description, as the creature neared land, it thrashed with such a force that it sent water into the air at an astonishing height. The struggle was intense as the fishermen attempted to subdue it. Once the shark had been sufficiently weakened and maneuvered into shallow water, it exhibited a striking behavior, thrashing its tail with enough power to create a sizable depression in the sand. Sykes described its hole as being large enough to accommodate a coach, emphasizing the animal's strength even in a weakened state. There was further intrigue which surrounded the shark after it was processed. During the dissection, a knife was discovered inside its stomach. The presence of this foreign object raised a couple of questions, as it suggested the shark had either swallowed it at some point in its life, or had encountered it in a previous struggle, possibly either with fishermen or sailors. Following its capture, there was speculation regarding how the shark had arrived in the river. Some observers proposed that the animal had originated from the waters of the East Indies, suggesting that it may have tracked the movements of the East India fleet across vast distances. According to this theory, the shark followed the fleet's ships as they made their way toward English waters, and upon arrival, instinctively pursued salmon upriver, leading to its eventual entrapment in the River Tweed. The presence of a shark so far inland was pretty unusual, leading some to compare it to a species known to tolerate freshwater environments. Bull sharks, for example, are well documented for their ability to travel far into river systems, with individuals having been recorded thousands of miles upstream in locations such as the Amazon River and the Mississippi River. However, bull sharks are not known to inhabit the waters surrounding the British Isles, making it unlikely that the captured green shark was a member of this species. Another explanation involves the blue shark, which is a species commonly found in the waters surrounding the United Kingdom. While blue sharks are typically pelagic and prefer open ocean environments, there is a historical precedent for their ability to enter river systems. A documented case from Japan provides a potential explanation. In either 1976 or 1977, a blue shark was observed traveling 1.5 kilometers up a river in Shizuoka Prefecture. This suggests that under certain conditions, blue sharks may venture into freshwater or brackish environments, making it plausible that the green shark of the River Tweed was a similar case. Tier 2. Mikadozame. In January of 1882, an unusual shark-like creature was reportedly captured off the coast of Kinkasan Island, which is now part of Ishinomaki City in Miyagi Prefecture, Japan. The individual responsible for catching the animal was a man named Genzamon Suzuki. According to accounts from the time, the creature bore a general resemblance to an ordinary shark in terms of body shape and structure, but there was one feature that set it apart, which was a distinctive pattern covering its head and back, which was said to resemble the petals of a chrysanthemum flower. Due to this characteristic, Suzuki gave the animal the name Mikadozame, which translates to Emperor Shark. Following its capture, the shark was presented to the Miyagi prefectural government. The event attracted attention, and the news of the peculiar shark-like creature spread past the local region. On April 4, 1883, more than a year after the initial capture, the Nichi Shinubun newspaper published a report detailing the discovery. Shortly after, on April 11, the Tokyo Nichi Shinbun also covered the story, ensuring that the event was documented for a wider audience. Alongside the reports, at least one of these newspapers included a sketch of the creature, providing a visual representation of what Suzuki and others had witnessed. This illustration became a key reference in later discussions surrounding Mikadozame's possible identity. While the original specimen itself was not preserved, the newspaper's sketch had led to speculation regarding what the shark might have actually been. One of the most common explanations is that the captured creature may not have been a shark at all, but rather a sturgeon. When comparing the features depicted in the drawing to known fish species, many have noted that the patterns and body shape bear a strong resemblance to those of a sturgeon, which is a fish known for its armored scale-like plates and elongated body. At the time Mikadozame's capture, sturgeons were still present in Japanese waters, though they have since been declared extinct in the region. Historical records confirmed that their known range overlapped with the region with the location where Suzuki reportedly caught the creature. If Mikadozame was indeed a sturgeon, its unusual appearance may have resulted from natural variation within the species or a misinterpretation due to the excitement surrounding the discovery of an unfamiliar looking fish. Ada Ciganlija shark. In July 2021, reports began to surface about an unusual aquatic creature spotted swimming near the shores of Ada Ciganlija, an island-turned peninsula located in the Sava River in Belgrade, Serbia. At first, the sighting caused concern among some visitors to the area, as the size and the shape of the creature led to some speculation that it could be something dangerous lurking in the waters. Due to its unusual appearance and the lack of immediate identification, some began referring to it as the monster of Ada Ciganlija, while others called it the beast of Ada Ciganlija, or even the Ada Ciganlija shark. As more people observed the creature, fear gave way to curiosity. It quickly became apparent that whatever was in the water wasn't behaving aggressively. Instead of exhibiting threatening behavior, the animal seemed pretty calm, even allowing some individuals to approach and touch it. The lack of hostility, combined with its apparent tolerance for human interaction, led to a shift in public perception. Instead of being regarded as a frightening unknown predator, the creature was embraced as a temporary fascination for those who frequented the river. One of the most distinct features which was noted by the observers was that the creature appeared to have a wound on its head. The nature of the injury was unclear, and there were no explanations as to how it may have been sustained. It is possible that the wound was the result of a previous encounter with fishing equipment, a collision with a submerged object, or natural causes. However, given that the animal continued to swim and interact with people, it did not appear to be in immediate distress. As sightings continued, efforts were made to properly identify the creature. The mystery was soon resolved when it was determined that the so-called monster was not an unknown or dangerous species, but rather a catfish. Catfish are commonly found in the rivers of Serbia, and some species can grow to large sizes, which may have contributed to the initial uncertainty regarding the animal's identity. Certain species, like the Wells catfish, are known to reach lengths and have been documented in European rivers, including the Sava. Once identified, the creature's presence became less of a concern, and the event was regarded more as an unusual but harmless encounter. While some initial descriptions had likened the creature to a shark because of its size and the way it moved through the water, the confirmation that it was a catfish put an end to the speculation about a large unknown predator. Ryugyo. In 1873, an unusual fish was reportedly caught in the waters of Ibaraki Prefecture, Japan. The creature, which measured approximately 2.4 meters in length, was distinct enough in appearance that it was given the name Ryugyo, a term that translates to dragonfish in Japanese. Unlike ordinary fish, Ryugyo was described as having an intricate series of patterns and adorning different parts of its body, each resembling traditional Japanese motifs. The most notable of these markings was the pattern on the creature's head that the observers likened to the leaves of the Palomina tree. In addition, its back displayed a design resembling a hollyhock leaf, while the sides of its body bore patterns that were said to resemble butterflies. These markings were considered particularly auspicious in Japanese tradition, as such symbols were often associated with prosperity, protection, and good fortune. Because of this, the fish's capture quickly became a topic of fascination and attracted the attention of local officials. There were several high-ranking figures from the prefectural government who came to view the unusual specimen, believing it would bring them good luck. Given the excitement surrounding its capture, efforts were made to document the creature. A sketch was created which provided a detailed representation of Ryugyo's distinctive appearance. This drawing has since played a crucial role in later discussions about the true nature of the fish, as it has allowed modern researchers to compare its features with known species. Based on the details depicted in the sketch, it has been suggested that the so-called dragonfish was in fact a sturgeon. Sturgeons are long-bodied, prehistoric-looking fishes that possess bony scutes along their backs and sides, which could explain the unique patterns described by eyewitnesses. During the 19th century, sturgeons were still present in Japanese waters, but they have since become extinct in the region. Their size, elongated shape, and armored appearance could have made an especially large specimen seem otherworldly to those unfamiliar with the species. Umokka. In 1997, a Japanese traveler known online as Umokka visited Puri, a city on the Bay of Bengal coast in India, where he stayed for some time. During his trip, he developed a routine of walking to a fishing village on the outskirts of the city each morning to observe the fishermen's daily catch. He had become familiar with the kinds of fish typically brought in, but one morning, something unusual caught his attention. Among the sharks and other fish, he noticed a creature that didn't resemble anything he had seen before. The animal was large, longer than Umokka himself, who was about 6 feet tall. Its body was brown and covered in thick, hard scales that looked similar to those of a reptile or the outer surface of a pineapple, complete with spines. The creature had 2 pairs of large fins and resembled limbs similar to those of a coelacanth, a large deep-sea fish with ancient origins. Its head looked somewhat like a lizard's, but unlike the rest of its body, the upper part of the head was smooth and lacked scales. The mouth was lined with rows of fine, needle-like teeth, giving it an almost prehistoric appearance. Curious about what he had seen, Umokka later shared his experience on an online crypto forum in Japan, describing the fish in detail. The story gained some interest, and another forum user combined Umokka's name with the Japanese word Ryugyo, which means fish, to create the name Umokka for the mysterious animal. As discussions spread, different theories emerged about what Umokka could have been. The most common explanation was that it was a bramble shark, which is a species known for its rough, spiny skin and large size. This theory made sense because bramble sharks are found in the Bay of Bengal, making it possible that one could have been caught by a local fisherman. However, some people pointed out that Umokka had features that didn't match a bramble shark, such as limb-like fins and an unusual number of gill slits, which weren't part of the known anatomy of that species. Skepticism also came from analyzing Umokka's artistic accuracy. Some supporters argued that he was known for drawing detailed and realistic sketches of marine life, meaning his description of Umokka was likely reliable. However, others noted that he had previously made mistakes in his drawings, including incorrectly placing the legs and eyes on a lobster sketch. Because of this, some people believed his depiction of Umokka might not have been entirely accurate. A few enthusiasts suggested even more extreme ideas, claiming Umokka could be a surviving Eusthenopetron, which is an ancient lobe-finned fish that lived around 385 million years ago, or Xenacanthus, which is a primitive freshwater shark from the Paleozoic era. However, these theories were widely dismissed as there is no scientific evidence that either of these prehistoric creatures could have survived into modern times. Tier 3. Kitakami Canal Frilled Shark. In December 2007, an individual known by the online alias Lilith shared an unusual experience on UMAFan, which is a well-known Japanese blog dedicated to cryptid reports. In the comment section, Lilith recounted an encounter that had taken place years earlier near their home along the Kitakami Canal in Miyagi Prefecture. The sighting involved an unfamiliar aquatic creature that resembled a frilled shark but had distinct characteristics that set it apart from any recognized species. According to Lilith, the first encounter occurred when they stumbled upon the carcass of the animal in the canal. The body measured approximately 2 meters in length and was deep red in color. Its eyes were an unusual shade of blue, and its tail had a shape similar to that of a frilled shark, a species known to inhabit deep ocean waters rather than freshwater environments. This was not an isolated sighting, as Lilith claimed to have observed similar creatures in the canal on multiple occasions after the initial discovery. Given its unusual physical traits, they speculated that the animal might have been a type of multi-finned aquatic serpent rather than a conventional species of fish or shark. Although the report was pretty intriguing, alternative explanations were put forward to account for the sightings. One possibility was that the animal in question was an ornamental fish that had been illegally released into the canal. Some exotic fish species are known for their vibrant colors and unique body structures, which might explain the red pigmentation and blue eyes described in the sighting. However, the specific identity of the creature remains uncertain, as there is no clear evidence such as photographs or additional witness accounts that ever surfaced. Drinnon system. During the 1970s, Dale A. Drinnon developed a system for categorizing aquatic cryptids, particularly those associated with sea serpent reports and unidentified marine creatures. This classification method, known as the Drinnon system, aimed to organize cryptids based on their possible zoological origins. It shares some similarities with the Coleman-Hughes system, which was created by cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman and researcher Patrick Hugh, as well as aspects of the older Heuvelmans system, which was formulated by Bernard Heuvelmans. The Drinnon system divides unknown aquatic creatures into several broad categories, each representing a different potential biological classification. These include unknown species of sharks, unidentified skates and rays, and abnormally large sturgeons. It also accounts for giant eels, unidentified fish, and even cryptids that resemble amphibians, such as mystery salamanders. In addition, the system includes categories of unidentified crocodilians, marine saurians, and large lizard-like creatures such as mystery monitors. Other classifications within the system focus on cryptids resembling known animals, such as water horse-like creatures, unidentified species of turtles, mystery seals, and sea lions, and unidentified sirens, which are relatives of manatees and dugongs. There are also categories for reports of giant beavers, amphibious pachyderms, which are potentially linked to prehistoric relatives of elephants, and reports of exceptionally large cephalopods such as giant octopuses and jellyfish. Now, beyond vertebrates, the Drinnon system also classifies cryptids that may belong to other invertebrate groups, including unidentified large invertebrates, reports of enormous snakes, referred to as great snakes, and one of the more unusual categories, which is the great sea centipede, which appears to be based on rare accounts of long, multi-legged marine creatures. By organizing cryptid reports into distinct zoological categories like the Drinnon system provides, the Drinnon system provides a structured way for us to analyze accounts of unidentified marine life like sharks. Lord of the Deep. In Polynesian waters, there are tales that went around for generations about a massive elusive shark known as the Lord of the Deep. This cryptid is primarily known from ancient accounts, but sightings have been reportedly continuing into more recent times. One of the most notable modern encounters occurred in 1918 when a colossal white shark allegedly ran into a wharf in Australia, leaving those who witnessed it in awe because of its sheer size and power. Descriptions of the Lord of the Deep suggest that it is an extraordinarily large great white shark, far exceeding the known maximum size for the species. According to legend, these sharks were said to reach lengths of 100 feet, though more recent claims stretch that estimate even further, with some reports suggesting individuals as large as 150 feet. If these accounts hold any truth, such a creature would dwarf even the largest known sharks from the past or present. While the 1918 Australian report described the Lord of the Deep as being completely white, other accounts provide different color variations. Many sightings have characterized it as either green or yellow, often with white spots along its body. These variations in description could be the result of differences in lighting, water conditions, or even individual characteristics among supposed members of the species. Speculation about the true nature of the Lord of the Deep often ties it to the idea that megalodon sharks may still exist. Megalodon is a prehistoric species that dominated the oceans millions of years ago, and it was the largest known predatory shark and capable of reaching at least 50 to 60 feet in length. Some believe that the Lord of the Deep represents a surviving population of megalodon or an unknown massive offshoot of the great white shark lineage. However, though, there's no physical evidence that was found to support this idea, and the notion of megalodon survival is pretty speculative. Carter Scherer's Pond Monster. In April 2018, a YouTuber known as Carter Scherer introduced what he called the pond monster in a video. The video, titled Monster in a Pond Caught on Camera, was uploaded on April 19, 2018 and presented the idea that an unknown large creature was living in a pond. In the opening of the video, Scherer addressed his audience while holding the camera, explaining that something unusual had been lurking in the water. He dismissed the possibility of it being a common pond animal such as a fish, turtle, or snake, and instead described it as something much larger. He thought that it could be a shark, a catfish, or another sizable aquatic creature, but admitted that he had no definite idea of what it actually was. Scherer also mentioned that the pond was old, suggesting that whatever lived inside had been there for a while. As the series of videos progressed, Scherer made several attempts to uncover the identity of the so-called pond monster. In one of his later vlogs, he attempted to fish for the creature and claimed to have briefly hooked it, only for it to break free because of its strength. He also referenced a video by his brother, Steven Scherer, in which unexplained waves were seen moving across the surface of the pond. Carter interpreted this as possible evidence of the creature swimming just beneath the surface. Now, to further investigate, he got two people to help capture the creature and remove it from the pond. Despite the buildup surrounding the pond monster, it was ultimately revealed to be a hoax designed for entertainment and just to get views on YouTube. Like many staged cryptid videos, the story was made to engage audiences and create intrigue, but there is no real evidence of an unknown creature that was ever there. Tier 4. Florida Hammerhead Shark. For many years, stories have circulated along Florida's Gulf Coast about an enormous hammerhead shark known as the Florida hammerhead shark. Descriptions of this massive predator vary, but many claim it is longer than most fishing boats, with a head as long as a truck. Some say it has the strength to tow vehicles off the shoreline and is large enough to swallow other sharks whole. It is often described as being covered in scars, which are marks from encounters with fishermen wielding machetes, harpoons, and boat propellers. Among locals, it is widely considered the most dominant and fearsome shark in the waters, stretching from Everglades City to Tampa Bay. While accounts of giant hammerheads have existed in the region for over a century, the legend of the Florida hammerhead shark gained momentum during the Second World War. At that time, German U-boats were actively patrolling the waters off Florida, attacking American vessels. In 1942 alone, 56 ships were targeted, with 40 sinking, including the Baja California, a military transport freighter that went down 55 miles off the coast of Marco Island. With tensions high, merchant ships and naval patrols frequently reported seeing unidentified shapes moving just beneath the surface near major ports. Some of these sightings were attributed to extraordinarily large hammerhead sharks. Following the war, Florida's fishing industry grew rapidly because of an increase in reports of massive hammerheads. By the 1960s, one particular shark stood out among the rest. Fishermen told stories of a huge hammerhead shark with a deep notch in its dorsal fin, reportedly inflicted by a mullet fisherman near Usepa Island. The story goes that the fisherman struck the shark with a machete after it tore into a net full of fish and began bumping his 15-foot boat. The shark allegedly swam away with the large knife still lodged in its fin. Another tale described a hammerhead seen frequently near Boca Grande Pass with a harpoon spear protruding from its back. Some even claimed that the shark bore a distinctive scar on its forehead, though accounts differed on whether it was from a boat propeller or something more intentional. The legend took on a new life in 1968 when a group of students compiled the various shark stories into a school project. Their project was published in a school newspaper, then picked up by a larger publication, eventually spreading the tale across Florida. By the 1970s, the Florida hammerhead shark had become a widely discussed topic among fishermen and coastal residents, with people sharing their own encounters and speculating about the size and age of the creature. While some elements of the legend seem pretty exaggerated, giant hammerheads are a well-documented reality. The giant hammerhead is the largest of its kind, growing over 20 feet and often weighing more than 1,000 pounds. These sharks follow migrating schools of tarpon, making Boca Grande Pass a prime hunting ground. The area is famous for producing record-breaking hammerheads, including a 13-foot and 1,360-pound specimen caught by angler Bucky Dennis in 2008. Given that verified hammerheads of 20 feet exist, it isn't entirely outside the realm of possibility that even larger individuals could be lurking in the region. Despite many claims, no one has ever definitively captured the Florida hammerhead shark or provided conclusive proof of its size. Fishermen continue to report encounters with hammerheads larger than their boats, but such claims remain anecdotal. Some marine biologists believe that the legend may not refer to a single shark, but rather a succession of exceptionally large individuals that have occupied the same waters over generations. This behavior, known as site fidelity, is well documented in sharks, with the largest and most dominant individuals returning to the same hunting grounds years after year. By the 1980s, the Florida hammerhead shark had become a phenomenon in pop culture. It was featured in newspaper articles, television programs, and even an episode of World of Sports Atfield in 1981. Hawaiian shark. In Hawaiian waters, stories have went around about an elusive and powerful cryptid that lurks beneath the waters. It's known to fishermen as an unseen force rather than a physical creature, and this entity has been described in various ways, sometimes as a massive shark and sometimes as an unknown predator of the deep. Whether or not they believe in it, every fisherman eventually pays the price for encountering it. Time, effort, and prized catches are often stolen away, reinforcing the story of a being that takes what it wants from those who venture into its habitat. The origins of this cryptid are from ancient Hawaiian lore, where sharks were seen as more than just sea creatures. Some myths spoke of enormous sharks spawning humans, while others told of unknown marine entities that could change form, appearing as men to lure victims into the water and never return. Certain accounts describe a predator so vast and cunning that it could outmatch even the largest sharks that are known to science. Fishermen told of encounters with monstrous beings that moved without being seen and waiting just for the right moment to strike. In older times, people believed they could distinguish different sharks and identify them as reincarnations of specific ancestors. But not all creatures in the water were friendly. Some were seen as dangerous and unwanted presences, predators with unnatural intelligence and a malevolent will. When villagers wanted to rid their waters of these creatures, they used a peculiar method of capture, employing rattles made from coconut half shells strung onto a curved stick. The sound was said to lure in these predators before they could be killed, though work on the cryptid of the deep is unknown. Modern fishermen still speak of something in the water, though they no longer attempt to explain it in the ways of the past. It is not a god or a spirit, but something else, something just out of reach of understanding. It appears at the worst possible moment, just as a marlin or massive tuna begins to tire. Just when victory seems certain, the water churns, the line snaps, and the prize disappears. To those who have witnessed it, it is no ordinary shark, but something far larger, faster, and more deliberate. No matter how skilled the fishermen are, this creature always gets its share of lure. Lost shark. The lost shark, also called the false small-tail shark, is a species that was once found in the western Pacific and the southern part of the South China Sea. Though it was scientifically identified, no confirmed sightings or specimens have been recorded in over 80 years, leading many to believe it may already be extinct. With so little information available, it remains one of the most mysterious and possibly vanished sharks to ever be documented. Scientists only have records of 3 lost shark specimens, all which were collected many decades ago from waters near Borneo, Thailand, and Vietnam. When first discovered, they were incorrectly classified as small-tail sharks because of their similar appearance. However, further study revealed key differences, including a lower vertebral count and a distinct positioning of the second dorsal and anal fins. These features led researchers to classify them as a completely separate species. Since those initial specimens, no additional lost sharks have been recorded, raising serious concerns that the species may no longer exist. Like the small-tailed shark, it likely had a low reproductive rate, which would have made it more vulnerable to population decline. This issue is the fact that the lost shark lived in shallow coastal waters, which are areas heavily impacted by fishing. With overfishing depleting many shark populations, the absence of new lost shark sightings suggests it may have been wiped out before researchers even had a chance to study it. Despite this though, some experts remain hopeful. In 2004, there was another rare species known as the Borneo shark, which was unexpectedly rediscovered after being thought lost for over a century. This gives conservationists a reason to believe the lost shark might still be hiding in unexplored waters. Ganges shark. Sharks are mostly known as top predators in the ocean, but there's few people that realize some species also live in fresh water. Among the 6 recognized species of river sharks, the Ganges shark is unique to India. It inhabits the Hooghly River in West Bengal and has been recorded in the Ganges, Brahmaputra, and Mahanadi rivers, spanning Bihar, Assam, and Odisha. Unlike other river sharks, which sometimes move between freshwater and saltwater, the Ganges shark has only been confirmed in rivers and possibly estuaries, with no documented presence in the open ocean. Due to its rarity and ongoing population decline, it is classified as critically endangered on the IUCN Red List and is considered one of the most at-risk shark species in the world. Part of the Ryugyo shark family, the Ganges shark has a stocky, grayish-brown body with a broad, rounded snout. One of its distinguishing features is its small upward-facing eyes, which are positioned dorsally rather than on the sides of the head. This eye placement suggests that the shark may stay near the riverbed, scanning the water above for prey. While its exact diet is unclear, the structure of its sharp, slender teeth indicate that it primarily feeds on fish. Adults of this species grow around 178 centimeters, which is around 5 feet 10 inches, in length and give birth to live young, similar to other requiem sharks. It's usually mistaken for the bull shark, which is a species that can tolerate both freshwater and salt water and is known for its occasional aggression toward humans. The population of the Ganges shark has steadily declined due to overfishing, habitat destruction, and increased human activity near its river environments. It is frequently caught for its meat, oil, and highly valued fins and jaws, which are sold in the international market, usually. Also, pollution, dam construction, and the expanding use of river systems for agriculture and industry have led to reduced habitat for them. In recognition of these threats, the Ganges shark is legally protected under Schedule 1, Part 2A of India's Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, putting it among the country's most strictly protected species. I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Take care now.